We have some funeral planning today. I guess I want to mention something to the listener.
Okay.
Okay. And that is, I was thinking about this as we will be going here in about a little over an hour to meet with a family. And that is kind of behind the collar point. And that is, as a pastor, I can't stress how much we do appreciate our faithful members.
Mm-hmm.
And their examples and their lives of faith. It is super encouraging to your pastor. And this past year, you've noticed we've lost a lot of those faithful members to God's kingdom, and I just appreciate them. And to the listener, know that your pastor appreciates you if indeed you are a faithful member. And supportive and encouraging and all those things. And as we go to, soon here to prepare for a funeral and meet with the family, to me, it's a blessing actually to be a part. And you've heard me say that several times, Vicar, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's really easy when you have an example of faith and you see Christ at work in them, and you each day through the dying process, you see how faith still clings to Christ's word and his promise. And, when the last thing that they say is a Lord's Prayer that you hear, or that they can, and how they still want to make sure their family knows and understand. And I imagine as we get through the funeral process, there'll be all sorts of things that this precious saint wanted to make sure I mention about Christ. And it's just to behind the collar moment. Your pastor listener really does appreciate your faithfulness and your service in the church and all the ways that you are a blessing to the church, because you are a blessing to your pastor. And we have pastors listening too. I think they all echo that as well. So I just wanted to say that as I was thinking ahead to the more funeral planning that we're doing. I talk about those a lot because I do a lot of them. But any comments, Vicar?
No, I've just noticed the difference too in the joy in preaching their funeral sermons too. That you can just share their life as a testimony of faith in that as well to their family and loved ones and friends there.
And to when someone says the funeral service doesn't matter to the deceased person, I can tell you it matters a lot in this way. In their last days or weeks of life, many of them will think about the witness that the funeral will have to their family, and they find it reassuring when I say, don't worry, I will make sure Christ's cross and resurrection is clearly heard, that the forgiveness of sins and the promises of Jesus is heard by all who attend your funeral. And that really is meaningful and helpful for them, especially when they're leaving behind their family that they love for and they care for so very much. And what keeps them from wanting to go to die is not concern for themselves, because they know that they rest in the wounds of Jesus. It's always a concern for those that they care about. They worry about, my wife and my children and my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And that's what their concern is. They would happily go outside of that, but because their concern is, the husband is concerned for his wife. A husband is, and sometimes you have to say, the Lord Jesus is coming for you soon, and he will watch over your wife, or he will watch over your husband, or he will watch over your family. And that's because that's what they're concerned about. And so the funeral process really does mean a lot to the person going through the dying process.
I've also noticed at places like the hospital, the family welcomes you in as part of the family. You're their pastor for 20 years now, and they're like, yeah, let him in. That's our pastor. And, you're there through that whole process, and the whole family clings to that too, that Christ is with them because you're bringing them the word and you're praying with them and for them and feeding them Jesus through
And,
all
and,
that.
it brings the family close together in this sense that they may not always be used to praying together as a family.
Right.
And that sets an example for them, and they really appreciate that. So